So in this episode, we're going to look at why Fortnite might become the dominant player in the metaverse, why the release of UEFN is such a massive deal, and why it is definitely not too late to get involved. Okay, let's do a quick catch up and also the stats, which I promise you will be interesting because they continually blow my mind. We'll bring everyone up to speed and then we'll see where this is all going next. So Fortnite now has 500 million registered player accounts with 70 million monthly active users. It was released as a game about 6 years ago, but exploded in popularity with the release of the Battle Royale mode across multiple platforms and free to play. It's since continued to be one of the most popular games in the world. At the end of 2018, the separate creative mode was introduced, where users could create their own islands for others to play. They could use assets from the Epic Games library, and it gave Fortnite a whole nother dimension. We've also seen huge events and experiences take place in Fortnite, so the one that gets referenced a lot is the Travis Scott virtual gig, where reportedly 12.3 million players attended over multiple days. The other stat that gets thrown around a lot is the revenue that Fortnite makes, an estimated $5.8 billion in 2021, a good portion of this coming from the sales of digital assets, things like in-game skins and emotes. We've also seen huge official collaborations with some of the biggest IPs in the world, everyone from Marvel and DC Comics to Star Wars, Stranger Things, and a whole load more. For example, and we're almost done with the stats, a few years back they partnered with the NFL where you could support your favorite team by buying one of their official skins. The skins cost about 1,500 V-Bucks each, or about $15, and over a few months they sold 3.3 million of them, so made about $50 million of revenue just from a single set of skins. But you've probably heard all that stuff before. What it leads us nicely onto though is the next major milestone in the Fortnite journey, the release of the Unreal Editor. So quickly, what is the Unreal Editor, or UEFN? Well, essentially, it's a new program that brings a lot of the power of Unreal Engine 5, the game engine that is responsible for a lot of the unbelievable stuff that you've probably seen go viral recently, and it's bringing that power into Fortnite. Essentially, UEFN started an explosion of what is possible to create inside Fortnite, so people can now bring in their own custom models, materials, do visual special effects, and work collaboratively with others. It sits with the creative mode, but essentially gives you the chance to make anything you want within the rules. And for some delicious comedy gold, here's some of the mad but amazing creations that happened in just the first week of release of UEFN. You can of course watch all of these on YouTube if you're listening on the podcast. Here's a Better Call Saul creation as a Fortnite experience, what a show. Or how about a Mario Kart adventure, Peach's Castle from N64, yes please. And these reasonably terrifying but interesting creations, some scary bananas there, or this intense puppet experience. We should say that these unofficial third-party IPs are not in the guidelines and have since been removed, but I just chose them because they were hilarious. Regardless, the point is that the creativity here is absolutely exploding. Now, a few years ago, we had the new generation of YouTube creators creating a new type of content for their peers and where they were spending their time. Now, it looks pretty obvious that we have the next generation of creators in Fortnite. Alright, so those examples are fun and we can begin to see what is happening, but why is the release of UEFN such a game-changing moment? To be fair, Roblox has been doing quite a similar thing for years, although admittedly not using Unreal Engine, arguably the most popular game engine in the world. Well, without going too deep, in my opinion, the development of an actual mainstream popular metaverse kind of hinges on two important things: access and distribution. We've seen other newer experiences, things like the Sandbox or Decentraland, that are good, but just not as well known or as easily accessible, or just as much of a juggernaut as Fortnite is at this stage. And the debate about true ownership of digital assets is an important one, but one for another episode and one that we've covered a lot on the podcast before. Fortnite, though, is an access point that a whole younger generation already recognize and interact with across a whole load of platforms, everything from PC to PlayStation to Xbox, Switch, and so on, which means getting onto, playing with others, and creating is incredibly easy, and now, with the release of UEFN, more powerful than ever before. Quite a few of the other projects that we've talked about on the show before also don't yet have the infrastructure to support such a mass of users, with maybe the exception of Other Side for Yuga Labs. So combining Fortnite's user base, legacy, infrastructure, and the power of Unreal Engine and the quality of experiences that it can create, we might be heading towards a watershed moment. We're already seeing absurdly realistic experiences from Unreal Engine 5 alone, like indie game Unrecord, where it was legitimately hard to distinguish whether this was real footage or gameplay. And yes, this was all made in Unreal Engine. The person who made it had to actually make a video of the game in the engine just to prove it wasn't pre-recorded footage. Now imagine this level of experience, but something that your friends can join in on multiple platforms for free. Whether we want hyper-realistic first-person shooters is probably an entirely moral, separate question, but the possibility of that happening for the first time ever is kind of becoming pretty likely, definitely in the next few years. Now, Fortnite has its approval processes for safeguarding, of course, but hyper-realism in the context of, say, virtual concerts, which we've already mentioned, could see us jump to this next level of shared experience. And to get carried away for a second and imagine these ultra-realistic graphics on the next generation of VR headsets, powered by cloud rendering. All of this is coming, and all the AI tools that we already have and are starting to help supercharge content creation for 3D as well. You can start to see how we are hurtling pretty quickly towards this Ready Player One style future. And if you want to dive into the metaverse battle that is properly now heating up, our last video is all about that. And also, Fortnite have just joined the Olympics esports series, and we've just done a video on that too. But let's wind it back to the present moment, and the creations coming out of UEFN in such a short time are amazing. And that's sort of the crux of all of it. If you give creators the right tools, the right incentives, and Epic Games are paying creators 40% of all the items purchased within their creations, and the distribution is already there, then people will create, and the good stuff will come to the top. Fortnite, of course, has its own graphical style, but what we can see from the tech demos and other trailers is that it will have the capability to support ultra-realistic graphics. And I think it's a dead cert that what we will see come out of UEFN over the next 12 months will absolutely blow people's minds. In a previous episode of the podcast, we chatted to Rachel Stones from Epic Games, who kind of said exactly that Unreal Engine will become one of the most important tools in a content creator's locker. And now with UEFN, I'm starting to see exactly why. If Fortnite does become the metaverse or one of the dominant metaverse platforms, which to be honest it already has, it's pretty likely that it's also going to become a hub to distribute and host all types of content. The sort of game engine, new version of YouTube, if you like. Take this podcast, for example. Making a genuinely fun, gamified experience in Fortnite is a way to increase awareness and engagement and maybe reach a whole new audience, kind of like YouTube was when it started. For Welcome to the Metaverse, maybe that's where the live tour starts, or there's competitions every week, or even a world that you go and explore the future by playing through on Fortnite. We've seen it with concerts. Why wouldn't it apply to podcasts and TV shows and films and all sorts of maybe other information that we want to share and explore with others on the internet? If it does become the next big distribution platform, then maybe that's also where we showcase our digital assets, our new Nike or Artifact digital sneakers, which plows awareness and value back into the people who genuinely own those assets as NFTs, but that's a conversation for another time. Suddenly then this shifts into an entirely new media category, something that we've been seeing the signs of over the last few years and is a big part of the promise of the metaverse. And it feels to me that UEFN is a pivotal moment in all of this that helps bring this idea into a more widespread and mainstream reality, and that is what has been missing, and that is a big deal. There's a lot more that we could chat about here, but needless to say, understanding or hiring somebody who does understand about UEFN and Fortnite and where this is all going is probably a smart move. If you want to keep up to date with everything that is happening in this world, then make sure you hit subscribe on this, the BasedAF YouTube channel. You can check out all the other videos where we explore similar stuff, or hit follow on your podcast platform. Thank you for listening, and see you for next week's episode.